Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. My father wasn't an educated man, but he was a student of life. And he always told me that in the heart of a crisis, there you will discover your true potential. I never really understood those words until my third year at varsity. I really got very easily into the university. I managed to get a bursary quite easily, and everything went quite well. Until my second year, when there was tears in my eyes for the first time when I tasted failure. When for the first time I got 38% for an exam. Never ever had I thought that I can do that. And I thought, well, if this is where I'm now in my second year, how on earth am I going to get to the end of my fourth year? But my father also had more wisdom. My father said, never ever give up. And this is my story about never ever give up and how I discovered my true potential. I revisited this terror and fear of failure in my third year. It was in statistics. I was busy studying statistics very avidly, and I could fear that terror again. Because this was a subject that was given to me by the same Professor Lowry, who I got 38% for. So you can imagine the angst within me when I was studying. Now, Professor Lowry was a chubby man with a white beard, and he was always sort of moving his hands like this while he was speaking. And from the first day when there was problems, he charged into the lecture room and he started explaining away, and he was talking about what's happening in that situation, and you have to do this in this situation, and I couldn't understand. Like my fellow students, I was looking through my book. I couldn't find where he's talking about, and I couldn't find this formula called a situation. And I walked out of the first classroom like a drunkard, going to his next pub. I didn't know where to go. After the third lecture, I realized that situation was situation. And he was explaining what's happening in this situation and what's happening in that situation. For me. So that was my first experience of this Professor Lowry. Now, I was studying very hard in my third year, my little bachelor flat, and I was really looking at this and really contemplating what's happening. And I don't know what really happened. I still can't tell you what happened. But somewhere during that time, a vagueness went over my eyes. And before I knew it, I was in the grasp of the Sandman. Suddenly I woke up, and Professor Lowry was on top of me, choking my neck, and I tried to pry his hands open, but he was shaking me, and as the blood was spurting all over the room, I woke up. And it was, the sun was already streaming in, and as I looked around, the watch said it was 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock is when this exam started. I got my things, I grabbed my books, I couldn't find my car keys. I couldn't find it. My father's message still drove me. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on your dreams. Never ever. And I made a crucial decision. I made a decision there to really move and run to the university. It was about 5 kilometers further. I ran as fast as my legs could carry me. Not 32 kilometers, but I ran all the way. Half an hour later, I bursted through the lecture room, got through, and there was Professor Lowry sitting with his hand shaking like this. Mr. Professor, is this the time to arrive here? I said, please, Professor, late, overslept. You know, your breast is still burning inside. And he said, I don't know if you can write this. I said, please, please, please let me write this exam. He said, okay, Mr. Peterson, but when the other people are finished, you are finished as well. You can't have longer time. Thank you. It was a 3-hour exam. I've missed a half an hour, so I've got 2.5 hours left. At least I can try to make a bit up. Got the exam, went down and sat, and at a moment when I sat down, there was a clarity that came over me. There was a peacefulness I can't describe. It was like there was angels dancing around my head, doves fluttering around. And I sat down and I started to write. And when I put my last dot behind my work, at that point in time, I looked around and my fellow students were still furiously writing the exams. It was half an hour before I finished. I checked my work, I couldn't add any more, and I went and I gave it in. Professor Laurie, of course, I thought you won't make it, huh? And I just said, yes, Prof, and I gave it in. Next day, he came around and said, Mr. Peterson, you thought you can be the odds, huh? And he pat me on the back and he's off. Only about 3 days after that, I realized what it meant. Because I got my marks back. And I scored 98% for the exam. The closest person to me got 78%. I never did it again. I never achieved such marks again. But I did learn a lesson from my dad. Never ever give up. For at the heart of a crisis, I will discover my true potential. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Madam Table Topics Master.